Okay, so the overall length of a bolt is grip plus threads. The grip. Grip is the non-threaded portion. Non-threaded portion. And that would mean that the threads are the threaded portion. I'm just going to write threads. You got it. And the overall, does that include or not include the head? No. Not, okay. Let's see. I don't like what I wrote there, so I got to make something up on the fly here. And bolt sizing. All right, it's just like rivets, but different.
Great.
All right, so we'll just go with the standard bolt. Standard. I'm not sure where I'm going to go, so if I don't write that, maybe. Well, shoot. So what I wrote here was come in different sizes. Come in different sizes. Maybe that's what I should have wrote because I'm going to talk about standard right now. So standard bolts. So stick with my notes. Try not to change them up. All right. So let's talk about something like an AN3 or AN3's up to AN3, 2, and up to an AN20. All right, that's the size. So AN bolts come in little as 3 and as large as a 20. And we would call it something like, here's an example. So I could say I have an AN4 Hotel 20 Alpha. And that should mean something to you, just like the rivets mean something to you. Huh? Yeah. So what that is, it's 4/16 in diameter, has a drilled head, it's 2 and no inches long, and it does not have a hole in the shank. But we're going to go over that. Yes, Tim?
You answered my question just now.
Okay. So looking at that, first number is diameter in, what is a rivet diameter in? What?
30 seconds.
Okay, so just take whatever rivet is. If you learn, I was going to go. Since you know what rivets are, just double it. But you don't know what rivets are, so now just take what I'm going to teach you now. So rivet diameter comes in what? What's the increments?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Double that, and it's 16ths. Should I say halve it?
Oh.
Half it would be 16. So double the size. So in 16ths. First number is diameter in 1/16 inch increments. 1/16 inch increments. So, and then sizes range from 3/16 to, what's the biggest I have? I just told you it's 20/16. 20/16, which is an improper fraction. All right, this is confusing for some people, and it should be, I suppose. So sometimes a 3/16, that's the smallest one, is noted as a number 10. Well, when we got together for the committee on this, why is that? Because screws go up to number 10, and then bolts. So number 10 screw is the same as a 3/16, and then 3/16 bolts goes. So screw goes 6, 8, 10. 10 is 3/16, and then bolts go 3/16 down. So I suppose if they called it a 3/16, people would say, well, how come there's no number 10 screw? Yeah.
So like on rivets, like if you go lower than 332nds, they're non-load bearing, the smaller sizes. So is it the same kind of thing on like a bolt where you like smaller sizes, or for only certain?
Bolt goes down to 3/16. It's as small as it
Yeah,
goes.
so, but it says the 16th. Like the smaller ones only allowed on certain things. So
Bolts go down to 3/16.
that's it.
That's the answer. So, all right. Diameter. Let's see. After diameter. So, length. We'll just say length. Length. Oh, wait a minute. No, I don't want to write that. Stick with my notes. It actually makes sense. Indicator. Indicator after the diameter. That is whatever this is right here. So, a dash, just use a dash, indicates cad plated steel. Cadmium, cad for short, plated. That's really your standard. So like an AN4-6, the dash right there, that's what I'm talking about. That's pretty much your standard. That's what you're going to see most of the time. A C in place of the dash, is corrosion resistant.
Stainless steel, like, right?
Yep, stainless steel.
Stainless.
I actually have that in my notes here. Parentheses, stainless steel. Question for you. Is stainless steel magnetic or non-magnetic?
Non-magnetic.
Magnetic. My spoons are magnetic.
My fridge is made of it. My fridge is not made of it.
Okay, he's got a magnetic spoons. He's got a magnetic stainless steel fridge. What are you, some sort of fancy guy?
I said not magnetic.
Oh, your stainless steel fridge is non-magnetic?
Yeah.
So you can't take your great grade that you got the other day and you can't pin it to your refrigerator. It just falls down on the...
Oh, yeah. My parents are cheap. They buy that cheap stuff.
Do you think maybe they just tell you that so you don't have to put your stuff on the fridge? Well, that's nice work, Timmy, but our refrigerator doesn't. You suggested tape to see where this conversation goes? And if they say it's also a tape, tape doesn't stick to it either, then we know we got a problem.
Well, that's the planer.
Okay,
That's why they get the parking spots.
so is stainless steel magnetic?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. There are 5 classes of stainless steel: ferritic, austenitic, martensitic, duplex, and precipitate. Harden? I don't know that one. And only one is non-magnetic,
The duplex.
austenitic. So actually, when I learned in welding class, I only learned the 2 of them, which is austenitic and martensitic. Martensitic starts with an M, it's magnetic, austenitic is not. But here's something that's really cool, and I wish I could do it in here, but I'd start the place on fire. But I actually watched this happen. So take a piece of austenitic stainless steel. Is that magnetic? Yes or no? No. Take a magnet, you can put it on all day long, it will do nothing. Heat it up till it's red hot, magnet, it will pull it right up. And you can hold it up with a magnet until it cools, and it will fall off the magnet. It's really cool. I've watched that happen. All right.
Why can't we do that?
Because I don't have a torch here.
Each of those kinds of stainless steel have numbers associated with them?
Yes, and I don't know this is a classification of it. I don't know if the numbers, if it corresponds to it.
Numbers on both?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have it. Okay, an H means head, hole in head for safety wire. Safety wire. So, as an example, we could have an AN4 for hotel 6. Or I could do AN for Charlie Hotel. What does that mean? Corrosion resistant steel and a hole in the head. Some books will say dash, I've seen it both ways, dash H, and some just put the H. So if you have just the H, assume that it's CAD plated, but you definitely have to put the C and the H if you're going to do
Can
both.
you have one that has all three, the dash, the C?
Nah, I wouldn't see that. No, because, no, you never would have that because you can't have a dash and a C. You can't have corrosion resistant plain steel and CAD, you don't plate the stainless. So that's the word. All right, so next number is overall length. Not counting head, not head. Not counting head. Not counting the head. Overall length, not counting the head of the bolt. In what's the length of rivets in? 16th. So double it
32.
in 1/8 inch increments. Except it goes like this. It's the easiest way to explain it. All right, so say like a 4-4 is, how long is that? Okay, 4/8 or 1/2 inch. All right, so the 5 would be 5/8. A 6 would be 6/8. A 7 would be 7/8. An 8 would be wrong. Okay, 10 is the next. So that equals 1 inch. And then what comes after 10?
11.
11, which is 1 inch, 1/8. So you go 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
20.
17, which is 1 and 7/8. What's the next number? 20, which equals 2 inches. So what you want to do is you're going to want to go up to the tool room and you're going to want to ask for an AN2-8. And is that going to exist?
Yes.
He's gonna be mad.
James will just stare at you.
I probably walk away and turn around and go, what? Now the 2, 2 would catch somebody right away. But you ask for, you can do that like an AN4-8, AN4-9. Somebody will turn around and go start to look for that one. So,
Stretch tomorrow on Tom.
okay. If a single, so if it's a single digit, then the length is in 8ths, and that would be -3 through 7. If a double digit, first number is in inches, and second number is in 8ths. So let me ask you then. What is an AN 4-4? So how wide is it?
4/16.
So it's a 1/4 inch bolt. So it's 4/16, which equals a 1/4 inch. So it's a 1/4 inch. By how long? 4/8 or 1/2 inch long. Okay. How about an AN 5-7? 5/16 long by 5/16 wide by 7/8 long. AN 3 hotel 13. Get some threes in there. 3/16. What's H mean? Got a hole in the head by 1 3/8 inch long. All right. Links.
So Kevin,
Yeah.
do you have the shank
So-
roll then?
When we are looking for the part number in the book,
Mhm.
if we measure it, let's say it says 1.2 inches,
Okay.
but then
1.2.
yeah.
Okay. So let me caution you about something. Maybe this will answer your question. When you're looking at a bolt and you're trying to measure it, and so you measure something, and it's like is 1.2 isn't really gonna, that doesn't work into eighths very well, does it? So 1/8 is 0.125, 2/8 is 0.250, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you measure it and you say, okay, so 1 1/8 comes to right about here, and 1 2/8, or 1 1/4, comes to about right here. Well, I'll make it right here. There we go. Which one is it?
1 1/8.
Well, you know, because we've had this conversation.
Yes, it is.
It's 1 1/8.
I thought it's 1/4, but it was 1/8 because I was able to confirm it by looking at the, I think the wrench size, or like,
No, wrench size is diameter.
no, that was something else.
For sure that has.
So it's like a tolerance for one.
Okay, yes, it would be very expensive to mass produce bolts that were exactly the right length. Trust me, when I work on engines and I do get bolts that are exactly the right length, you're talking about $100 a bolt. So you don't want to spend $100 for an AM bolt. So my point here is that often bolts will run a little bit longer than they're supposed to be, but they're never shorter than they're supposed to be. So don't look at it and say, well, is it closer to 1 1/4? Or is it closer to 1 1/8 in my drawing? It's a lot closer to 1 1/4, but that's wrong in my experience because, well, I've ordered a lot of these things and measured them. So they can run long, but they don't run short. And the reason why, if you have to think it through, I'm a mechanic and I got to bolt something together. If my bolt is a little bit too short, how do I fix that? Get a new bolt. If my bolt's a little bit too long, how do I fix that? Add a washer. So it's easy to add washers. It's really hard to add bolt. All right. So when you're measuring, keep that in mind. It could be a little bit long, but it can't be a little bit too short. That's just the way it works.
Kevin, one
Yeah.
more question.
Yes. Go ahead.
It doesn't matter like what the bolt look like, right? If it is a corrosion, it will be marked. That's how you will know that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It should have that mark, the head marking on there, which we'll get into head markings.
What about the nuts?
Nuts are hard to tell, especially if the CAD plating is wore off. Use experience. Well, okay, let me take that back. It used to be back in the day you could just buy bolts and you could just throw them in a box and you could say, well, there's your box of bolts, right? You can't do that anymore. You have to have traceability on everything. So when you go up to your hardware bin and you get a bolt, it has to have a traceability tag attached to it or with that lot or that bag. So you're actually reading, you should be able to see and read the bag, the part numbers and everything when you pull it out. Gone are the days where it's just like, well, here's a box of bolts. What is this one? I think it's CAD plated, maybe. It's hard to tell. Everything's traceable now.
So what about the nuts? Like, how will you know that this is like a corrosion?
In the field, you'll read the part number that came with it. In lab, you just have to guess. If it's this color, it's stainless steel. Or the CAD plating is wore off because that bolt has been passed around for the past 50 years. So I'm pretty lenient on that. So if it's got any gold at all, I'm going to say, no, it's cad plated. If it's totally silver, then I'll say, well, it's silver and that's stainless steel.
Okay.
All right. What I didn't cover here.
There's also two different types of cad plating, isn't there?
Yes, there are different types. There's clear and there's gold. Clear cad plating is that color. Looks just like stainless. Yellow is not like tin, thankfully.
How do you tell the difference between regular steel and the clear cad plating?
Well, you should be able to look at the part number on the bag, but
If you just find the bolt laying around.
you know, it's just experience. You can kind of really tell the difference. That reminds me of an engine I built one time. So I built an engine for a home built. So you can do some different things with home built engine. It wasn't a certified engine, and the guy, he was a really cool customer, and he wanted this special engine, and so I worked with him on a color scheme. It was a nicely built engine. Yes, it's a story. You can probably count this one. And so it was like a kind of like the color of your hoodie, but a little bit darker red. So we did the whole engine in this dark red enamel and trimmed it in 14 karat gold parts. So we had the rocker box covers, the rocker box screws, and a bunch of other miscellaneous stuff, gold plated, real gold. But then the push rod, what ruined it was the push rod tubes were aluminum. So we had them anodized. We tried to have it anodized gold to match, but it ended up being like this baby poop kind of yellow. You don't have kids, you're like, I don't know what color that is. It was just that. I think that kind of ruined it. But the gold, whatever carat it was, I don't know.
Basically, pimped his ride.
We pimped his ride, and it was pretty sweet. In fact, so he was going to put it in an airplane, but he hadn't built the airplane yet. But I finished the engine first, so he took it home, and what I heard is he put it he filled it completely solid full of oil. I mean, every square inch. So I don't know how many gallons it must have taken, but he filled it all the way to the top, every cylinder, everything, plugged them all up, and he put it in like a plexiglass case and hung light bulbs in there so that it would stay warm. And he kept it that way for years. In fact, it's funny because it was less than a year ago. I was doing summer with somebody, and they asked if I knew this guy. I'm like, yeah, that guy's awesome. He goes, well, I bought his engine. I'm like, I'm the guy that built that engine. Anyway, yeah.
Wouldn't that be softer than like aluminum, the gold?
It was very soft. I had to wear white. No, it's just it's a plating.
Yeah, no, white gloves.
But I wore white gloves when I put it together. I couldn't touch the gold, leave my fingerprints.
Barely pick up.
That's all how you mark everything, it's all plating.
Very carefully.
Oh, it was, well, I used, okay, so I didn't use, if you buy the standard gaskets that go into the rocker covers, you have to torque them like 50 inch-pounds, which, yeah, I had to hold it and real careful, couldn't let it slip. It's a slotted screw for that particular one. But what I did is I bought these, there's aftermarket silicone ones that are approved for use, and the torque is only about 10 inch-pounds at the most, 5 to 10 inch-pounds. So real light torque. Huh?
Did you say it was a home built anyway?
It's a home built anyway, but it was approved. Everything I did was approved except for that color. Okay, after all of the last the numbers, so I want to say last. Last letter can be an A for absent. How do you spell absent? A-B-S-C-E-N-T. Is that right?
No.
No? Spell it out for me.
Let's see.
A-B-S-E. Oh, I was doing the European spelling. Absent the hole. Absent the hole. What hole are we talking about? Shank hole. So right there. Is this going to have an A in the part number?
No.
Nope. So think of it. Standard old school comes with the hole for a castellated nut. If you're not going to use a castellated nut, then
You don't have an A-hole.
you don't have an A-hole. I want to say, don't embarrass yourself. Number one, by saying that. By using a bolt like this and using a self-locking nut, that just makes you look really bad.
Thank you, an a-hole.
That makes you an ass.
And even worse if you have Loctite on it.
So that just, and I see that all the time. I'd hate that. Just drove me nuts. It's like, well, got the right size bolt. Here's the right bolt. I'm like, yeah, but it has a hole in it, and I'm using a self-locking nut. Well, just put it on anyway, and you can always tell. It just looks so crappy.
If it's inside the bolt, then you won't see it.
It's,
Loctite on the bowl.
it sticks out enough that you can see it. All right, so last A for absent hole. So you have an A, it means absent the hole. All right. Links. I should have wrote this first, but I didn't want to forget that. Links come in a -3, that's the smallest, to a -80. So how long is a -3?
3/8.
3/8. How come they can't make it any smaller than that?
That's pretty dang small.
Because you still got to get a washer and a nut on the end of it. All right, up to, and what's the longest?
8 inches.
8 inches. And what happens if you cannot find the bolt, the right bolt? You need something longer than that.
Just use all thread.
Just use all thread. Well, I had somebody tell me once, if you can't find the right AN bolt and you have to go to the hardware store, always make sure you buy a grade 8 bolt. So in SAE or standard bolt terminology for automotive and other use, it's an SAE bolt. SAE, Society of Automotive Engineers. And they have markings on them. And they come in different grades. So like a grade, 3, 5, grade 8, those I think are common grades. So grade 3 is a pretty soft bolt. Grade 5 is a good bolt. Grade 8 that's your really good bolts. So the guy said, always make sure if you go to the hardware store and buy a bolt for the aircraft, which don't do, by the way, make sure you buy a grade 8. Why do you think he wanted me to buy a grade 8?
Color or gold.
You got it, because I believe that AN hardware is equivalent to a grade 5. But if you go to the hardware store and you buy a grade 8, it's what color? It's gold, and it matches an AN hardware bolt. So can't tell unless you look at the head. So speaking of looking at the head, a standard bolt has either an asterisk or a plus. So the bolts heads are marked with stuff. See if I can find that stuff. Oh, there we go. Nominal length grip. There we go. Head markings. I think I have one other slide. No. Okay. So this is in your books. You should be able to look at this. There are sometimes other things marked on bolts. That can be manufacturer's coding and stuff. So I think this one, Cooper with 4037, that may not mean anything because it's a standard bolt. It has the plus. Standard bolt. It has a little hashtag, but it has S, an N, and an M. That says arrow. But still, standard steel, standard steel, standard steel. And notice they all have different markings on them. Here's another standard steel bolt. It has Air Associates. So my point being, it may have other writing on it that is not meaningful to anything other than the manufacturer's code. And sometimes that really comes into play. There was, working on engines, we had an AD that came out on all Lycomings for the bolt that went in the back that held on the main drive gear. That bolt failed, the main drive gear came out, and then the cam doesn't work, and the magnetos don't work, and the rest of the engine doesn't work. And what you had to do is you had to take apart and get access and read what the coding was on the back of this bolt. Not that it was an asterisk or a star or something like that, but there was some sort of number written down on there that had something to do with something. And if it had that number, you had to take it out and put in a new one. And all the new ones had to have this special stuff. So you have different markings. They can be different for different manufacturers. This one right here with that dash, we talked about that a little bit ago. Dash, that means it's corrosion resistant. So, so how do you tell if a bolt is stainless steel? Well, you can look at the color, but you should also find that little mark. What if it's a silver? It's silver, it's this color, it doesn't have that mark. Then it's either cad clear or the gold is wore off of it. The cad gold is wore off of it. There's some other ones, magnetically inspected. That means that either a sample or each bolt has gone through a magnetic particle inspection before being released out. What else we have? Close tolerance has got a triangle. There's aluminum with double dashes. So various
And you
things.
said if it's, what would it be, left-hand thread, it'll have
A little hash mark, but that's not standard stuff by any means at all. And I couldn't even draw it because it's kind of on the other side and another dimension to draw it in here. Oh, right here. So it'd be like right there, a little hash mark there, a little hash mark there. But most of these bolts don't even have the option of left-hand thread. Trying to think of anything I've ever run across in aviation that's left-hand thread. It's can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Hey Kevin, like the corrosion resistant, can that dash be a little lower too?
Yep, it can be a little lower. It can even be this way.
Okay.
Or this way. Okay, they got that because the bolt rotates. So.
No, like it was really low. Like no, it wasn't like this. Like.
No, yes, it can be lower here. It doesn't have to be in that area. Yeah.
So on some bolts, I've had to like cut them and when they heat up and get orange,
Yeah.
it looks like they're almost green. Is that the cadmium?
Yes. Yeah, the cadmium bakes into it. We're going to talk about what happens with that here in a little bit. I'm good to go. I can go another hour.
Hey, you're not even be here.
Huh?
Monday, Tuesday.
I know. That's why I'm good to go.
So when are we gonna be
Are you gonna fly there?
this?